Okay, let's continue on here with the osdev. I want to get loading and saving files from the text editor to disk. I want to get that working, so let's do load file first because I already have it mostly laid out here. And before I do that, let's just see what happens currently. So if I try to load, let's load a text file, which all we have is load an existing file. Let's load file table because that's the only text file we currently have. That's what it looks like. So the only issue here is, I guess the numbers, the hexadecimal numbers. So we're not converting hex literals into ASCII. When we type in files, if we type in new files in the text editor, there won't really be hexadecimal literals. It'll be the ASCII 0 through 9 and A through F. But for loading a file, I guess there could be, at least for the file table. So let's convert any hex that we find into ASCII before we print it. Let's do that. There also isn't new line characters, but there isn't new lines in the file table, so we can't really do anything about that. Let's move this here. We'll compare AL to, I guess, to 15. So that'll be F, or we can compare it to F. And if it's less than or equal, we want to convert it. If it's greater than, we don't want to convert it. So let's just do convert. We'll make dot convert. So when we convert it, let's just call, it'll be an AL, so we can call our hex to ASCII, which is already included in the editor. Then when we return, we can print and then go on. Okay. Let's do greater than, jump greater than. Don't convert, not convert. We'll put don't. I'll put no convert. Okay, otherwise we will convert it. So we'll just skip this if it's valid, but if it's hex, we're gonna change it and convert it first, and then we'll print it out, and then we'll do that. So, okay. Can it be that simple? Hopefully. Go to the editor, let's load file table. Hey, there we go. It does end with a bunch of zeros, so we have a bunch of zeros, but there we go, pretty easy. It doesn't look great, but that is how it's laid out in memory. I might eventually change the file table. I mean, I could change it in here even, to edit it and, you know, in the lines with new lines and everything, but I'll do that later. So we'll do that later. But that displays everything, so to get the regular text editor stuff down here working, we have to update some of these variables we got going on. Every time we get a character printed out, increment di. int10 right now will take care of moving the cursor, but we also want to, well, we want to move off the interrupt eventually as well. So maybe I could do that, which would be updating cursor X and cursor Y, or we could do that at the end. Let's see, let's just do that. Push AX. We'll call our print character text mode instead of using the interrupt, because I want to move off of interrupts. So let's do that. So character to print an AL. These are already words, so that's fine. For cursor X and Y. I think we push Y first though, right? For the row. So let's do that. And interrupt 10 already does this kind of every time anyway, so it's not really any slower than using that. So push X and Y. And that. We'll call print character text mode. And add 6 to the stack pointer to clean up the stack, alright. Then we'll increment di, move on to get the next character. Okay. Let's see if that worked by default. Operand size not. Okay, so we do have to do word. Let's just see if we get the same result or not. We do not. Nice. Okay. Probably because I'm not moving the cursor after, so it just prints it all in the first place. Yeah, we want to update that. Increment cursor X after you print a character. And I also don't remember how this is laid out. So So I didn't remember if we handled end of line in here or not. It doesn't look like we do. We just pass it and it prints. Okay, well, we'll increment x, and I guess if it's already at 80, we'll set it to 0 because we're not handling that in the print character function. So I guess we'll do that here. So compare word cursor x to 80, or end of line. I think I have that at the top. All right, if it is the end of line, we want to set it to 0. Do set to 0. Okay, otherwise we want to increment it. And then we have to jump back. Yeah, let's do the opposite of this then. We'll jump not equal. Increments. Let's do this. All right, if it's not at the end of the line, we'll increment it. Yeah, we'll just do this. Move word cursor x 0. Okay, otherwise we want to increment it. Go on. We'll do this. Jump, go on. Go on, increment. So we're at the end of the line. We want to move it to 0 and then go on. Otherwise, we want to increment it and then go on. Yeah, this is fine. It looks bad, but that's okay. We also want to increment y if we're at the end of the line, because we want to go down one line. So increment word cursor y. There we go. Now we get the equivalent, and it resets to 0, which is good. So I can... Actually, that's at the end. But the cursor goes to 0 when we start the text editor. Okay. That's a little odd, but alright. Let's just initialize all these things again. Let's do that. Initialize all these when we load the file. I'm not sure how we want to update these. I guess we will update these too. So when we increment the cursor y, we'll also increment the file length, the file line length. How many lines are in the file? So file length lines. We'll increment here. Okay, every time we increment di or go on, we'll increment the bytes. There we go. The lines, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I want to handle these. Current, previous, next line length. So I'm just going to put to-dos for now. Handle these below. Not sure what I want to do with those for now. Okay, and that doesn't work at all. Why is that? This moves down one and then go on. Let's put this stuff inside there. That here. So let's print it when we go on. We'll print and then increment. This will compare if we're at the end of the line. So we want to move the cursor and then we'll print the cursor, or print the character at the cursor. We're still not moving the cursor though. Let's print and let's move the cursor here. So that would just be pushing X and Y, I believe. Call move cursor, add 4 to clean up the stack. I didn't want to do that. What did I do? Something? I don't know what I did. Oh well. I don't think we need to do off by 1 either. I don't think it will be. We will save DI though. Let's put it down here. It might break, I don't know. Let's put it down here though. We'll move the cursor before we go and edit stuff. All right. Still doesn't print anything. That's interesting. Okay, so it turns out when you want to set stuff equal to AX, you kind of need to set AX first, or it's, undefined behavior, like in C. So this was not here. So whatever AX was before could have been garbage, but if we, XOR AX to set it to 0 first, then you'll find that I can't type. You'll find that it loads. Hey, there seems to be a space here, which is odd, but the cursor's over here, which is correct. If I start typing, then it's at the end of the file, so that looks good. Probably can't move. Well, I can move back because it's not at 0. That's just cursor X. So I can move left and right. Okay. Home and end should work as well. End goes there. Interesting. It's only 4 because I only typed in test for 4. Okay, can't move up or down. So yeah, but it does load the file to the screen. I can't move the arrow keys or anything. I also can't return for some reason. That's a bit weird. Control R does not work. Okay, weird. Still buggy, still a bit buggy, but we got stuff displaying on the screen. But maybe I do kind of want the arrow keys to work, so I would need to set, the current line length and previous and next and all that. We probably need to reset current line length to 0 as well. So we increment the lines. Let's move word current line length to 0. The new line is 0 now. Otherwise, if we're printing out stuff here, we'll increment it. Okay. And also when we go down, the previous one will be, okay. The previous line length, even though we keep resetting it, that's okay, is going to be the current line length. So we're not using bx here, so let's do that. Just for another thing that isn't AX. So we'll set the previous line equal to the current line by doing this. I don't think I need word if I'm using bx. Okay, and then we'll set current to 0. Alright, we're not setting next, because, we'll figure that out whenever we do other stuff. So let's... Does that enable some arrow key usage, maybe? Maybe gets rid of some bugs, maybe causes some more bugs. Probably causes some more bugs, so... Home should go to the beginning, and it does. End should go to the end, that's correct. Let's go left a few times, or right a few times, left a couple. Let's go up. Up does not work, because I'm using new lines to do that. Yeah, I don't have a new line in the file, so up and down is not going to work. I could base those on the length of the line up to 80 as well, but... the file table is different. Eventually we might change the file table to use new lines. Right now we're not. I just wanted to test loading, so that's good. Okay. I'm assuming it would work the same, which is still kind of buggy, if I had new lines to delineate, stuff on the screen. Also, if there's a new line, we need to go down a line, but I didn't do that yet. I will do that definitely when we start saving files, but... Let's get rid of those comments. I could put in basic code for that here. If it's 0f, we want to go to no convert x to ASCII. If it's 0a, we're not doing it anyway. Well, a would be a special case, wouldn't it? So we can't do this 0 through f. It's not going to convert it. If we have an a, we want to use that for a line feed. But that's also in the valid hex characters that we would convert, so that's annoying. Well, we can convert them all for now, but when we go... Oh well, the file table is an edge case, it doesn't need to be counted. Let's go down here, and I can say if it's 0a, maybe we want to set cursor X to end of line, and then it'll do this stuff. And then it'll print the character out. We could do that. We are incrementing DI, but we're not setting any data inside of DI either. So we might want to do that also. Let's store string byte. AL will be the character. AL is not changed in print character text mode, as far as I know. Well, it is, isn't it? Okay. We have save input character for that reason. Let's use it. We'll save AL. After this, let's move that back. So that we can do store. So that'll increment DI automatically and put that in there for the file data, which is at, yeah, 10,000 0 according to this. Or 1,000 0, but at 10,000. Then we'll go on. So the file data will be okay, but I think I want to call, or at least set cursor X to end of line if we hit a new line character, which will be 0A. Guess we'll do that. That's annoying. I'll do it before here. We'll do this. Jump equal will be not new line. Okay, move. So we'll do this. If it is a new line, we'll move cursor to end of line so that it goes down and does that code. And then we'll jump, yeah, to here. Otherwise, it's not a new line. We want to do our regular code, compare and, convert as usual. Or not. Okay. So kind of confusing a bit. Oh well. That shouldn't change. That should not change anything currently, unless there's an A for the sector value in the file table somewhere. Which it doesn't look like there is. Yeah, so loading kind of works. Alright, let's move to saving. So saving is under text editor. I think we just kind of did that when loading, so let's get that comment out. Backspace delete we're not doing. Okay. So Control S. We'll do this right now. Check. Well, we'll just change this to jump equal. Okay, otherwise we'll do saving stuff. And after we save, we'll go back to input character loop. Okay. So save the disk. We'll put that here. That's jump equal, jump not equal. I don't remember what all we needed to save to the disk, what all params we needed to pass, so let's pass these, even though I have them in the editor already. So file name, file type, file size, so we need to get the file name. If we put it in the bottom, that way we're not overriding the text on the screen. Let's try that. So let's set the cursor to the bottom of the screen, which Y will be 24. And instead of writing the keybinds message, we'll write another message. The enter file name string, we'll write that. So right, is it right bottom? No. Right bottom screen message. So what does that do again? That automatically goes to the bottom. Okay. Message in SI lengthen CX. Okay, okay. That's the message. So what is the length of this? 17, it looks like. That's 17, so let's do that without the null byte. We'll just do 17 there. Let's move SI to file name string. Or move file name string to SI rather. CX for this will be 17. Eventually I won't hardcode this, but right now I am. We'll call write bottom screen message, I think is what I called it. Yeah, so that'll write at the bottom. And the cursor should be at the end after that. So then we'll call, is it input file name, right? Yeah, no. Another underscore. So they'll input the file name, that should show up at the bottom of the screen. All right, and after they enter it in, we can call save file. So we'll pass file name, file type. Editor file type, which should be set to txt still from when we loaded or running a new text file, should still be set to txt. File size right now, we're still going to assume 1 sector. We do want to change that later though, of course. The memory address for the file, the offset for the file. Yeah, that's still going to be 1000. You know, what I could have done is just copied all these. That would have been better, right? Wouldn't it? All right. We'll call save file. When we return, we'll go back. Although success goes to get an XX character, so we don't want to do that, but we will do this. Similar thing here. On success, we're just going to go to input character loop, I guess. We do want to write the keybinds though. We'll do save text file. Save text file error. Text file success. I guess. Why might as well. Right, bottom. Screen message. Okay. And we'll jump back to input character loop. Actually, I guess we can reset that by so keybinds text mode, keybinds text editor. That's 53. So if there's an error, we're going to write the error to the screen and then press a key, and then it'll replace it with the regular message and go back to normal for the text editor. Then we'll go to input character loop. All right. All right. Otherwise, it was success. So save text file success. So what do we want to do there? We just want to go back, input character loop. We'll just go back, and then this will go back regardless. All right. Guess let's try that. Hopefully that saves it to the disk. We will find out. Illegal instruction, because I'm not calling it. I'm just stating it. Call right bottom screen message. All right, so let us make a new text file. We'll call it testing 1, 2, 3. Test line 2. Line 3, I put 4. Let's do 3. Okay, let's do Control S. We probably want to clear out the whole bottom line first, don't we? Yeah, let's do that. We don't have a message for like blanks. Like 80 blanks. We don't have. I mean, by default, editor messages, but let's make it blank. We'll call it blank line. And this will be times 80 dB space. So it'll be a line of spaces. So before we input the file name, we'll do this stuff. We'll write a blank line to the bottom. And then we'll fill out the file name on top of that. Okay, and then we'll input it. So test 1, 2, 3, test line 2, test 3. Control S, file name will be, well, the cursor didn't move down there. I'd rather the cursor be down there, but all right. Yeah, that's not good. So it's wherever, I guess ES is messed up there. DI is on the screen. ES needs to point to 800 or 8,000 instead of 10,000. So AX 800. Yeah, and then when we save, we'll reset it, right? Yeah. We'll see. Maybe this will work, maybe it won't. So set it to 800 so it doesn't put garbage on the screen and saves it in the right variable. And then we'll call with this stuff. These should be filled out. Maybe we want to do this after. When we go to input character loop. Put it there, maybe? Maybe. Control S. Okay, file name. Let's do text file. Why is it doing this? Why you do this to me? Doesn't seem like it, at least. Guess it'd help if I set things up consistently, wouldn't I? Probably help a lot. Alright. I do want the cursor to be at the bottom though after I do this, but we'll see if this works. We'll do text file, which is 8. We'll do 9, 10. Okay, then what happens? Enter? No. I don't think that's working. Well, I guess we could test. What is in... Oh no, that did save. That did work. Just a bit weird and awkward. Doesn't really return correctly because I want to print it out at the bottom. Okay, so I'll have to move the cursor to the bottom to make that work a little bit better. Okay, but it did save it. Text file. txt, f, and 1. So let's load that and see what happens. Okay, since I fill it out with zeros, it fills out with zeros. Okay. But it saved the stuff that we entered. Well, the new line was... Yeah, the new line's not really good. But it saved the stuff here. Okay, so I want to move the cursor down there before we call this. So it was like 17 was the length of the enter file name string here. So the cursor is 1 base, so that'd be 16. So maybe I'll move the cursor to 17 or 18. Let's try that. Let's move this to 17. And then move this to the last row. Then we'll input the file name there. We'll save it. Okay, but when we go back, probably want to move the cursor back to where we were. Let's just go back to the start. We'll go back to the top, actually. We'll move this back. We'll just move it back to the top of the file for now. Even though we should have the place saved, we'll move it back to the top. And we'll do this stuff as well. Let's put this in the under here. put this under here. That should make it a little bit easier to use. We'll make a new file, we'll do that again. Test 1, test line 2, line 3, so S. Okay, I don't see the cursor, it should have been at the bottom, but alright. Oh, that's awkward, alright. That's weird. Let's do that first. Test 1, test line 2, 3. Oh, it's Y then X. Yeah, it's row then column. That's why that's not working. No, it's still up there. Well, that is odd. Oh, I'm not pushing it. Wow. Oh, man, I'm tired. Okay. Push word cursor Y, you big dork. They're on the stack. That's the whole reason you're doing this. Then we're calling move cursor. Alright, then we also have to add the stack as well to clean it up. Okay. I need more coffee, man. That's my issue. Definitely need more coffee. I'm doing this so that the lines are different lengths. That's why I keep doing this. I want the first line, medium length, second line is longer, third line short, so I can test the arrow key movements. That's why I keep doing that. Hey, looky there. Text, test. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Then we probably want to move the cursor back, which it didn't do, but that's alright. We can return to the kernel. It did save. Sector F, size 1. Also, when I'm saving, I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this stuff, because it needs to be, this will be 10, but I think I'm only printing 1 digit out, when I'm, at least for print file table, and maybe saving is only printing 1 digit, so probably have to change how saving in the file table displays stuff, maybe, or at least the print function. Because now we're beyond 15 sectors, which is exciting in its own way. Okay, and it prints it out alright. Not great, of course. And we can move up and down. Ooh, that's new. Because we're putting the new lines in, we can move up and down now. Except really, the new line for this is all going to count as one contiguous line, because technically it is, but we have the new line up here next to third, all these zeros, including 3RD, all the way down here. That's going to count as one line, basically. And then, yeah, the arrow keys are messed up now. The end of line, it doesn't know where it's at, but let's see why. One, it's also printing a space in front by default. I don't really like that, so we'll find why it's doing that, and I want to, I guess, hide the new lines so we don't get garbage characters. So let's see how we can do those things. And also when I go back, I want to move the cursor. I don't think I'm moving it. Yeah, I need to push. Jeez. Having issues today. I do need more coffee. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 YY. Let's yank 5 lines. And paste those suckers in right here. Move the cursor back to the start of the file. Okay, so when we're loading, up here, we want to store, well, we are storing the byte. So this is the hex character. It did convert AL, but I'm resetting AL down here. So it's printing out the literal new line as that weird circle character. Okay. So this I can use compare move, so that'll be different. I don't know if I can use it with 8-bit, but we'll see. With 8-bit registers. So let's compare AL with 0A. We'll do C move equal. We'll do AL 20. So 20 is a space. So this would, well, I'll just put a space. Easier to understand. So we'll use a space for new line characters. Visually. And in the file. Well, that'll be in the file as well. That's not good. I just don't want to print that. Character to print an AL. So, okay, we'll do it here. Compare AL 0A. All right, we'll do it there. Yeah, that works. We'll just, yeah. Duplicates here. If it's not, it should be all right. So how would that look? It also puts new line at the start of the line when we load it, even though when we're saving the file, when we're entering it in a new file and saving it, I'm putting the new line at the end of the previous line. Well, let's see what this looks like first, actually. Invalid argument. Oh, I have to move from memory to that. Okay, let's do BL space. I have to do it from a register or memory at a register into a register. That's the invalid size. Okay, so I think it has to be AX, which is all right. Yeah, there we go. It has to be 16-bit. Okay. Test one, second line, third, text test. Let's load that. Okay, there we go. Print spaces now, that's good. Don't need to do that anymore. I'm not doing int10 in here, no. I don't know, but we got, basic saving and loading text file done, so I'll look into, I guess, why it prints a beginning space and see maybe why, but if I can't figure that out, right now we're good to go. So I'm going to move on to a couple shell commands now, whenever I get back to this, so it'll be, an instant change for you, of course. For me, it'll be a few hours or days. Okay, let's continue with this osdev. It's been a bit over a month since I last recorded one of these. As you can tell, I'm a lot hairier. Probably shave soon, but that's not important. Anyway, worked through some personal things, so hopefully I can make more time for this going forward. We'll see. Hasn't worked out so far, but maybe this will be different. I wanted to get started, or at least work more on some shell commands. So I was trying to think how I wanted to do this going forward. Eventually, I probably want to make like a compiler, an assembler or something. The first stage, and one of the traditional ways to do, say, a compiler is a lexer or a tokenizer. So I did like a couple small examples for that and C in assembly. And basically, I'm going to use a very, very simple basic one that just separates out tokens that are white space delimited, I guess just on space, maybe tab, but probably just the space key to begin with. When the user enters input into the shell in the kernel. So if they enter a command like delete file and then they give a file name after a space, then I can tokenize the input string and get like the first token is the command delete and the second one is the file name. So it may be easier, or at least a different way to do this would be just pushing the arguments on the stack like I had been doing for other programs and then popping them off in the command or in the program, but I was looking up some basic compiler theory. I figure let's just try to tokenize it. It'll come in useful later. I like learning stuff, so might as well. So the tokenizer C is just basic C file. There is, built-in library, built-in function in the regular C library. strtok. It might be in the string library actually, the string header. strtok, which tokenizes a string for you, but I just wanted to write this out to understand it a little bit better. So in the C example, I have, a buffer. This can be our input line for this example. A position within the line, just a pointer to the buffer. Our tokens array, 5 elements of 10 bytes each. These are character, just initialize it to 0. We have the count, the number of tokens, and just some indexes here, 0, I and J. So we get a string for the buffer. We get it from standard in. If they entered in something, it's not null. So when they press the enter key, it'll enter in the full line. We'll set a pointer to the beginning of that buffer. We'll get the tokens white space delimited until we're at the new line. We're basically going to go through, and if it's a space, we're going to keep incrementing. So get to the first non-white space character, and then while it's alphanumeric, so if it's A through Z or 0 through 9, regular ASCII characters, and then we're going to add it to our current token. And then after that, we're going to increment the count and go to the next one. So at the end, we print them out. So hopefully that makes sense if you know a little bit of C. We're just printing out the tokens at the end. So if I do... Well, if I can type, right? We can do this, and we'll run a.out. We'll enter in a line. We'll have token 1 space, token 2 space space, token 3. We'll press enter, and it prints out tokens, token 1, 2, and 3. So I'm not going to be printing them out in our OS example. I'm just going to be separating the tokens and then, parsing them as need be for whatever command or I guess program that we're calling with these. We'll see. I'll do it for shell commands to start off. Maybe later we'll do something else. I'm not sure. But anyway, I also had an assembly version, which is a bit longer, but I had to set up an environment. I'm doing this as a boot sector, so a little more, set up for the environment here. I have a buffer variable, which is just 80 bytes. Our tokens, 510 multi-dimensional array for tokens here. Our token count position, which was line position in the C example, and our message. So this is just printing out tokens like we did in the C example. So basic video mode setup. Input loop, I'm just getting keystrokes from the user, AH0 and 16. I set up DI to the input buffer that we're going to set. So we're getting a line of input from the user and putting it in the buffer variable, which is just 80 empty bytes right now. Storing it. If it's an enter key, then we go to get the tokens. If it's not enter, we're just printing them out to screen. So when we get the tokens, we're moving buffer to SI, we're moving DI to the tokens array, which is 5 elements, 10 bytes each. And in our loop here, we're loading, so load SB takes from SI, so we're loading the input, the byte at the user input line into AL. If it's enter, that's the end of the line, so we want to move on and print whatever they entered. Otherwise, we're going to loop through the whole input line and get the tokens. So same with the C one. We have the white space loop comparing. I'm just comparing to space, not tab or new line or anything. If it's not a space, then we're going to, hopefully it's an alphanumeric character. If it is a space, we're just going to get the next character here by doing load SB again, because that automatically increments SI, which is our user input line in the buffer. So it goes to alphanumeric loop here. Compared to 0, if it's less than 0, it's our white space pretty much, or maybe the new line. So we're just going to go back up to, well, we're going to go down and assume we got a token. That's, maybe not greatest, but for this simple example, we'll just assume if it's not alphanumeric at this point, then we got a token. But if it is between 0 and 9, we'll store it here to our tokens array. Otherwise, we'll go and check if they entered in an uppercase character, which is before the lowercase characters in the ASCII character set. If it's not, we get the next one. If it is, we'll store it. Otherwise, we're going to look for lowercase characters. If it is, we're going to store it if they entered in lowercase a through z. And then we'll go and check for the next alphanumeric. So assuming they entered in some number of alphanumeric characters, we have a token. When that reaches one that isn't alphanumeric, we get the next token, or at least set up the space to get the next token. So we increment the token byte counter. XOR BX, we move that into BL, multiply it by 10, because our tokens are, for this example, they're 10 characters long. So the next position in the tokens array would be 10 characters after the first position, or the previous token rather. So if it starts at 0 for token 1, our second token would be at position 10, because it'd be after 10 bytes starting at position 0 in the array. So that's what we're doing here, multiplying whatever count we have by 10. So start out, it would be 0, but when we get the next one, this will increment to 1. 1 times 10 is 10, and we'll load the address of the tokens array plus 10 into DI, which is pointing to that position in the array. Or it'll be 10 after that for the next token. And we're going to decrement SI, because at this point we loaded a previous byte, and then we're just going to pop that back. Yeah, prevent error here. So when we do get token load, just for this bad example that I wrote, since this does a load SB by default starting off, I decrement here so that it correctly checks for these. When it goes back to get token loop, it does a load SB, so I'm decrementing so that that works correctly before it loops back, if that makes sense. But anyway, after we've gotten all the tokens, we're going down to print message. I believe that's here. Yeah, when it reaches the enter key at the end of the line. So it just sets up the int10 teletype output, ah0e, and int10 here. So message loop, we're going back, we're going to message. So this just prints out the tokens : that we had. It just prints that out first. That's all that this part is doing. If I go down to it, that's all this is doing here. Load the byte, if it's at the end of the string, then move on, else print it out and go back, load the next byte. So for tokens, we have a counter in bx. cx is used for something else, I don't remember at the moment. si is set to the start of tokens array. So we're going to load our tokens here and print them to screen. So we load the first byte of the tokens array. If we're at the end, it'll be 0 because we initialized it all to 0 to begin with. And we'll go to get the next one. It's the end of the current token, basically if we hit 0. If we didn't enter in the full 10 characters. So this probably is buggy for tokens that are exactly 10 characters that run into the next one because it won't hit 0 until after that token. So this is not a great example. It's buggy, isn't it? That's okay. Assume our tokens are less than 10 characters. 0 will cut off a token. So this is saying it's the end of the current one. And we'll go to print the next. Otherwise, we're going to print the current one and keep going until we hit a 0. So the next one, increment BL, move token count into there. And we will, if we've reached the end of token count, so we reached all the tokens that we entered, then we're going to end. Otherwise, we still have ones to print out, so we're going to move on. I just had to move and use cx here to save off bx, not modify it. Multiply cx times 10 to get the position in the tokens array, because they're up to 10 characters long. Move that into si to get the position of the next token by adding it to the beginning position of the tokens array. So si is the beginning, and then we're adding whatever token we're at multiplied by 10 to get the byte position within the array for that token. Yeah, not a great explainer. That's okay. And then we print a new line between the tokens and go back to print the next one, print loop. So hopefully that made sense. I'm not great at explaining again. That's all right. I'll show how that works here. I believe I already have a binary for it, but I'll just run phasm again. It does work, see? So QEMU system i386, load as a floppy, tokenizer.bin. But it'll be similar. I just blanked out the screen by setting the video mode. So if we enter in a line like we did before, token 1 space token 2 space space token 3, we enter in the enter key, which is a 0D, enters in a carriage return. We get the same thing, similar to the C example, prints out tokens and the tokens we entered. So we won't do anything that intense, that drastic in our OS. I just wanted to show a working example. All we really need is, well, we'll probably set up these similar variables, I guess. But we really only need this code here, the variables, and then this code, get token loop, which checks for alphanumeric or white space. So we don't need to print, we're just gonna separate them out, get them into the array. So that's all. Hopefully I'm gonna try to accomplish that stuff. That's all we need to do. All right, so let's try to do that. We'll go into the build. So this will be in the kernel. So we'll be going back to kernel stuff today. So that's exciting, right? Hopefully it is. The command I wanted to start with, and I guess one that we'll use to test this after we get the tokenizer working, is going to be delete. So I'm just going to add a little delete command here. I'll call it command, I don't know, delete or delete file. Delete file. I wanted to make a delete file command. So we'll do this. It'll be a delete. So delete a file from disk. But okay, let's open up the thing back over here. Eventually I want to change command string as well. I want this to have a set length and not just be blank, taking up whatever position it wants. But we'll do that later, of course. So let's just set up our variables here. Buffer, you know what I could do is just copy. Let's just copy. Copy these. I don't know if I want all of them, but whatever. I don't want message. We don't need that. equivalent-ish to tokens 510. Okay, and the count of tokens and the position within the input line, I believe. I don't remember. What did I even use token position in here? I didn't. I think I originally used that, but I ended up not, or taking it out. So let's just get rid of that because that's not needed. Okay. Get tokens for input string. So we're going to change our commands a little bit. So I might break everything as I'm prone to do. Or maybe we'll just modify one at a time, which would be better. But after our key loop here, or during our key loop, we want to input to the buffer. Well, our command string is our buffer, so maybe we don't need that. Never mind. Or not never mind, but buffer, well, I entered that twice anyway. Our buffer, in this example on the right, is our command string in the kernel. So we actually don't really need, just making sure the recording's going okay. Don't really need this, I guess. We have the command string here. So never mind. All right, we check against the enter key anyway. So we entered everything in the command string, right? In the key loop, I believe. Yeah, if they didn't press a backspace and they didn't press enter, we're moving it into SI. Okay. Okay, so when we're doing check commands, we're going to modify this a bit. So let's just put to do tokenize our input string. All right, so SI points to command string, which is a buffer. That's good. DI, let's move this. We'll move DI to the tokens array. So I don't need to write this, but I will anyway. DI is pointing to tokens array. I'll have to change this later, of course, whenever we change it. But right now, 5 elements, 10 characters each. So get token loops. Let's go here. I don't want to just copy paste in case I want to change some stuff. But maybe I will copy paste, because that would be easier, wouldn't it? Let's do that. Let's do it one at a time. And then see. Okay. So load from the input string into AL. Just compare to 0. Unfortunately, that won't be the end of inputs in this one. That'll be the end of the token. Will that cause any issues? If this was 0 instead of 0D, I don't think that would mess anything up. Let's just, well, we'll see. We'll see when it, we get it worked in, if it works or not. Compared to a blank in the user input line. If it's not a blank alphanumeric, otherwise get the next one and go. Okay, yeah, that should be fine. All right, so let's go check uppercase, lowercase, next token, jump get token loop. That should be all we need to do. Let's close this out. There we go. So it's storing it into DI, which is DI is pointing to tokens. That's good. Okay, that's all good. Right there, go to get token loop. Okay, so at this point, assuming this works, print message we don't have, so we're going to go name something else. Whatever this point is beyond here. I already have a run command, don't I? Yes. Yeah, let's put this stuff under here. Not like that. Like that. Don't need run command. Because we're doing the same thing with here. So check commands is the same. So this is where we're checking them. Okay, that's all right. Then down here, we're going to call it run command. I don't even need to call it check commands because that's not really what it's doing. Let's do tokenize input line. That is exactly what it's doing, so there's no way somebody could mess that up. Hopefully. There we go. Okay. That's exactly what it's doing. It cannot be confused. It's very clearly stated in the label. Okay, then we'll go to run whatever command they did. So run command would be, instead of print message here, So what we want to do here is give the first token is the command to run, assuming the command to run, or the program name or whatever that the user entered. But I guess we'll call it run command, whatever. This could be check commands, actually. Because if it's not a command, then we'll be checking the files. Yeah, so this could be called check commands. Let's do that, because the other one's called check files anyway. So let's do that. Check commands, and we'll check files. Yeah. And the second token, if applicable, this will be, yeah, example, or maybe e.g. file name. The first token, we'll compare, like again here, command directory. So movsx tokens. Push cx, I don't know what cx was at this point, that's all right. Cx will be, we need to get a length of the tokens too, don't we? If we want this to work exactly the same, we need to get a length of the token that was entered. I mean, it'll only be up to 10. Second array. I'm overcomplicating this, but I don't really care at the moment. Tokens length, sure, 5 times 5 db0. Length of each token in tokens array. I guess 0 to 10, sure. So if we're storing it, we do want to increment that byte. Oh, wherever that is set. Well, we need a thing to wherever that is set to. That's not good. I don't have a counter here like bx. So I want this to be plus something. You know, that something needs to be an index. The tokens length array. Here I'm using bx because I read in some, well, I've tried using cx here before and it said it was invalid. But in some forum post for flat assembler, it said the only allowable characters for this, like, you know, use of a offset here, such as for array indexing, was, I think the only registers allowed were bx, bp, the base pointer, and then maybe si and di. Not exactly sure. Might have been another one. But I think those were the only ones allowed, so we don't want to use si or di. I would like to use bx, though. But I don't want to complicate this too much, because I'm already using bx down here. This is very annoying, but we can get it working and then hate ourselves and refactor later, right? So we can try and do that. Okay, I'll make a save bx variable. Sure, why not? Till we get the next token, we're not doing anything with bx. So let's XOR bx to start off here. This will be array index. So we'll XOR that with itself, otherwise we'll get an error. Bx is, well, bx will be the token count, won't it? But we need to only increment by 1 instead of 10 each time when we go to the next token. The token's count array will be byte indexed, I guess. The tokens array will be 10 bytes indexed. So how do I work with that? Actually, I don't have to, I might not have to do this actually. What if we just increment the byte at token's length, right? And then what we do, let's not do this. I'm overcomplicating things way too much. We just increment the address over here. All right, move to next position and tokens count array. So this will just be incrementing token count. So there we go. I wonder if this just works with increment. This might not work, actually. I might need to have a register for this instead of just a label. I don't remember. So this might cause an error, we'll see. But I just want to get to the next byte. the address will point to the next byte. And then when we increment the byte there, say whenever we store for the token, then we should be okay. All right, for the alphanumeric ones, okay. So whenever we store, we're also going to be incrementing the length. Then we go to the next one, we're just incrementing the address, so it points to the next byte, which will be for the next token, since right now it's byte based. Okay, so that should be all right, hopefully. Okay, because I needed to do that to get the right value for CX down here, yes. So let's move tokens into, well, we moved it into SI, didn't we? Let's move tokens count. Let's move tokens count. Tokens count, I just realized, yeah. Tokens, I put that up here, right? Length, never mind, length. Forgot what I named my stuff, that's always good. Tokens length is what I named this, so that's what I need to name it. Just to make sure that's reset every time we do this, I probably want to reset that up here. Because that'll just point, wherever it's pointing to, it might be pointing at the end of its own array. So let's subtract from this. I don't know if I can do this either, if this is an allowed thing. But also, labels are words. I'm just doing all kinds of bad stuff here. All right, let's do this. Token count is a byte as well. Actually, yeah, I can move that into CX. Well, this will be a byte though. Okay, I need to, just in case there's data up there, I'm going to clear out CH when I do this. All right. So however many tokens we have, that number, let's move into CX effectively, well, CL here. And I can subtract that number from wherever we're currently pointing. If it's 0, it should subtract 0, it shouldn't matter. But I can hopefully subtract that from there, so that we then points to the beginning of this array. The tokens length array should be pointing to itself. We're just setting it back. Since we're incrementing up here to put bytes in positions, we're just going to take however many we entered and subtract it from it, which should be the token count. So we're only incrementing when we get the next one. So hopefully that's right. Okay. So tokens length points to the start. Okay, so that'll point to the first token since it's the start of the array, and that's what we want to move into CX. So move into CX, the bytes at that position, that should be the length of the first token is what we should be getting here. And SI will point to the beginning, so CX should have the length of that token in it. And then we can go and compare as normal. So hopefully that works the exact same and nothing's changed. It probably won't, but hopefully it does. Let's find out. So before I make any other changes, let's see what all broke. Invalid operand, increment tokens length, I figured. So what can I do here? I'm not using CX anywhere here, am I? Or well, I am using AX. But AX is loaded immediately up here anyway. What am I not using? DX? I'm not using DX. Let's use that. Let's mess something else up that we won't realize till later by using DX. So DX, we'll do tokens length. Sure, we'll increment it. And then we'll move DX back into here. If I can, there we go, have it type right. Okay. Just increment tokens length value, put it back. Does that work? Probably not. It does not. Invalid operand. Wow. So I can't increment a label. That's really annoying. Press enter first so it saves. What is a different way of doing this that would work instead? I just want to go to the next position here. Well, I guess we're doing DX, aren't we? I just realized. I just solved my issue there, of course. DX. Move DX tokens length. There we go. Look at that. All right, tokens length array, which is 5, 1. We'll use dx, of course. So tokens length incrementing should be okay. Although we don't need to do that. We'll do increment at dx instead. Dx. I think that's how you type it, right? We'll find out. I don't know why it's copying 2 lines sometimes. That's all right. Okay. Increment length of current token. Otkin token. There we go. Yeah, increment dx. That's okay. There we go. That's all that needs to be done there. Of course, that'll be a word value, but that's all right. So instead of doing this, all we have to do is move cx, cx, get the first position there at tokens length, then the data at cx. So maybe we could have saved what we already did. All right, let's just see. Let's zero out ch, and we'll move into cl, the byte at the starting position of tokens length. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Okay. Then we'll push and go. Okay, so hopefully that works. Of course it doesn't. Reserved word. You can't increment the data at dx, really? Syntax is working against me here. It's starting to get me mad. But once this works, this will be all right. Take that to do off. I can't increment the data at dx, really? Why can't I do that? Why is that not allowed? That's lame, dude. So what does this have to be? Something else? Like bx or something? I'm using bx down here. We do have a save bx, don't we? Didn't I just make that and not use it? Save bx? Yeah. Okay. We'll move in tokens length to bx then. Let's do that. Tokens length will be into bx. And then we'll save it off and then recheck it. Let's just do this. Increment bx. Assuming I can do this, I might not even be allowed to do this either. And I'm just failing hard here because I don't remember what the rules are for this. We'll save it off here. Move into save bx. If I can do this, maybe I can't even do this. I might not be able to. Well, actually, no, this needs to be the data. Yeah, the data at save bx. So, yeah. Move it into there. Move the data at here. Well, I can't do this because it's data to data. Oh, this is lame. We'll move back into here. Word at save bx. Just a little temp variable here. And increment that. Okay. Decrement si. Does that work? Tokens length array. Probably won't work, of course. Operand size not specified. Okay, so that does work. You can't use dx for that. That's lame. Lame, dude. I don't think it matters if these are words or bytes. Let's just make it word. No, that's count. Let's not do that. Make this word. Let's make that word. Tokens length will make a word. Okay. Word, and word. Okay, that worked, but that doesn't mean it worked, right? It's symbol, that doesn't mean it'll run, so let's test and okay, directory. It took the directory command and it loaded the directory. That's good. I'll try the print reg. Maybe I didn't call it print reg. Did I call it something else? Probably call it something else. Graphics test is not found. So none of these are being found, so that's always good. Probably need to reset DI or ES or something, because now none of these are working, of course. So that's probably correct, yeah. ES or DI needs to be reset or saved off there, of course. I'm assuming that's the issue. So it doesn't work for subsequent commands, only the first command. That's interesting. I guess because the tokens are set, right? I'm not resetting the token position. Well, I am up there though. guess I have the count. I probably need to reset the length and the count variables here, right? Probably need to do that. Need to reset these back to 0. Ideally all of these. Every time they enter in a line, we probably need to reset all these to 0. Tokens, data, and arrays. Okay. For next input line. Oh, move it. Well, we can XOR. XOR AL, AL, movsx 50, and repeat store string bytes. That'll store 50 zeros at the tokens array position. That'll wipe that out. So 4YY should copy. I did 3 instead of 4, that's okay. There we go. So let's go to the front of the token's length, except this will be AX. Well, AL will already be, we'll just do AX. That'll already be set to 0. This we can do 5, store string word. So 5 words of 0 for length, that is correct. So token count. We can just do that directly. Move byte token count 0. There we go. Well, this doesn't matter actually. This shit. Well, yeah, it does actually. Do that first. That'll reset these 3 things here to 0. Okay, I don't know if that's the issue, but I mean, we're gonna do it anyway, right? Let's just do it anyway. Invalid operand because I don't have a comma, because I always do that. Where did I put that? movsx 50. You need to be commaed up there, friend. All right. So directory works. Can I do another thing? I can. So it looks like that's all I needed to do at first glance, because I can put other stuff in. Hey, look at that. Just had to reset those. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So program found but not loaded. Interesting. Wonder why I wouldn't load the program. Calculator loaded. Editor was found, but it wasn't loaded. That's interesting. It was found but not loaded. So where does that show up? Here. So this was not set. So when it tried to load, it didn't load the sectors. So it loaded 7.1, but it did not load 8.7. Why is that? Okay, let's continue with bug fix osdev here. So this, our latest issue here, I think is related to, well, not fixing one of our earlier issues that we've had going along all this time, which is that we're storing spaces in the file table here for files, well, for file names that are not 10 characters long. I'm padding out with spaces. So when I change this to tokenize input, I didn't really change this part, but I'm putting in the exact length of it, which is, you know, for editor it's 6. I'm not including the spaces because I'm passing over those in our tokenizer. If I go back up here, so we're skipping any spaces here, and we're only storing, you know, alphanumeric and then incrementing the length. So the length for the first token for our command, or well, our file that we want to run is editor, our program. This will be the first token. Its length is 6, which we have stored. Okay. So when we go down and we check files, when we do, where is CL set? Here, when we pop CX here before checking the files, this is set to 6. Okay, so it does find the full name because it matches inside of our file table. So it finds editor, for example. But then it goes down to found program. Now, at this point, for calculator, it would be at the end, it would be all 10. So we would be set on the B, so this would work to get the file extension. But if we put in another one, such as editor, it's not 10, it's shorter, so it'll stop like on the R or something. Well, it'll go 1 over, I think. It might be like here on the space. It will not be on the B. So trying to get the current 3 characters here, well, these will all be spaces. The file extension is going to be spaces. And then also when we add 4, that's probably going to be on this B or this I. These aren't really going to be numbers, so these values are going to be invalid. So then 13 is not going to run. The carry flag will be set. Okay. So how do we fix this? I think it's pretty simple. I think up here where we get the file extension, all we need to do, if it's shorter than byte 10, right now for a simple, hopefully simple fix, I'm just going to compare if we're on a space. And if it is, we're going to increment until we do not get to a space. So we're assuming they answered in less than 10. We'll increment until we get to not a space. And hopefully this fixes our issue of needing to enter in spaces so far to load programs and things. We should just be able to enter an editor and run, not editor and 4 spaces to be able to run that program. Hopefully this fixes that issue as well, but let's see. So let's do this, put to do while we're doing it. Skip over any spaces in file name. So this will not work if we have multi-word file names. So if this was like editor space, 1 or something, this probably would not work with this. But right now we're not doing that, so we'll just have to figure that out later, of course. Okay, we'll say skip over any spaces of file name if name less than 10 characters. So we'll do this again, but this time we're going to compare AL to space. It's equal skip spaces. We'll jump equal to dot skip spaces. I do like these little dot labels. They come in pretty handy. So we'll compare to AL. If it is an AL, we might need another label here. After spaces or whatever. We'll call this file extension. File extension. So we'll do this. We'll do jump not equal file extension. Otherwise, we'll increment bx and then jump to skip spaces. I think this is what this will work better. So let's do this. Okay. So this is a little loop here. That's why I'm indenting like this. It's a little loop. We'll get the character. If it's a space, we want to skip it by incrementing bx and loading the next one, moving it into AL. Okay, if it's not a space, then we'll go and put the stuff into here. So let's see what this does. Hopefully this works. Probably won't, because I am always an optimist. And it didn't, because I was right. File extension, illegal instruction. The dot does not have a colon, you dork. You need to put that with a colon, and you need to type and quit fat fingering. Okay, let's try that. Colon, that makes it a label. And then it works. Okay. Let's just check the commands one more time. Directory works, print registers works. Graphics test is still kind of buggy. It'll change it and not go back. But we can reboot and then it'll work. So let's try to load the editor without doing the spaces. And it works. Hey, so we fixed an old bug as well in fixing this one. So that's good. Now we can run. We don't have to freaking put spaces on the end. That's awesome. I like that. Let's load an other file. Editor. I want to load an existing file. There we go. That's what I wanted. File table. Hey, looky there. And arrow keys. And they don't work. That's all right, because we don't have any new lines. So that's what I get. Let's try to edit something else to make sure I'm not fully failing at life, which I might be. Calculator doesn't really matter. So I should be able to do left and right here, up and down, right? Yeah, left, up, down. I believe home is here. Yep, end is there. Okay. Cool, we can return. No, Control R doesn't work to return in this. It is question mark. There we go. Okay, so we got the file name stuff working. All right, so that is currently when I'm doing this tonight. That's all I'm gonna do. So if I end the video here, thank you for watching. If I continue the video here, then I'll see you in a second. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching. Appreciate it.